Yo, what's good, y'all? So, look, I gotta jump on here because I've been seeing a lot of commotion on the internet lately. If anybody's been paying attention the past couple days, there's been this hot topic of IT versus trades. And I keep seeing plumbing getting thrown in there. And I think that might just be because plumbing is probably one of the dirtier of the trades. We deal with crap, obviously. But there was a video that came out a couple days ago. This young man, he was applying to a Ivy League school, something like Harvard, Yale, one of those, probably a different one. Great SAT score, over a 4.0 GPA. He had a lot of community service that he had done amongst a bunch of other stuff that he did as well. And he essentially got rejected. College denied his acceptance. And you can tell from the video he was hurt. I mean, I think anybody that put in that much effort towards something like that would be hurt. I know I would be if I did that much work. And then I started noticing comments that came about where you had tradespeople coming on there and saying, well, maybe he should become a plumber or get into a construction job. And then on the other side of it, you had IT people coming on there essentially just shitting on construction jobs, period. Whether it was plumbing, electrical, HVAC, any of that stuff. They were just blowing smoke about it and talking about how crap it was. And it really got me thinking. And it also has me amazed that we have a society that has become so pampered and so delusional that they are willing to disregard the importance of trade jobs. I mean, think about the audacity that you would have to get on the internet and tell somebody that they shouldn't get into construction because it's hard work or it's demeaning, or maybe they believe you don't make good money doing it. But the phone or the computer that you used was built in a facility that was built by tradespeople. The house that you were renting, I guarantee you the people that are making these comments about not getting into the trades don't own their home. I guarantee that. I would bet majority of my money that is the case. Because I've noticed that there are a lot of people who kind of crap on the trades and that don't see the benefit of it. But as soon as they become a homeowner or they own a property, they then understand the importance of it. So I don't think that they really own homes. They don't own properties. Maybe they own their IT business or whatever. But you got on a phone in your rented house or your rented apartment to make a comment crapping on the trades. But you wouldn't be able to do any of that if it wasn't for us. Just like if I made a crap post about doctors and the unimportance of doctors, that would not make any sense for me to say something like that, especially given my health, and the longevity that people have now compared to 100 years ago with modern day medicine. It makes no sense to crap on that. You literally, your everyday life depends on tradespeople. The house that you're renting, the apartment that you're in, the phone that you use. You take a shit every morning like a normal person, right? You use the toilet, you wash your hands, you brush your teeth, you take a shower. Please explain to me that if nobody was in construction, how you would be able to do this. So it was a little irritating to hear that. Now on the other side of this, let's talk about the benefits of it, because people were on there just talking about how crappy getting into construction was and how nobody should really do it. It's a thankless job, essentially. To some degree, it kind of is. But let's look at the two and let's dissect them a little bit, right? We'll start with IT. I'm not going to crap on it because I understand the importance of people in the IT field. We need that. I'm talking to you guys on a phone right now. I'm using my phone. I use services, data, whatever programs for the job that I use. We use technology to keep our business moving, right? So getting into IT, it's a good field. You know, whatever, I don't know how many branches or what all different things you can get into, but I would argue that it is extremely important that we do have people getting into that, whether you're an engineer, whatever, yada yada. It's important. You do keep the world running, especially in the modern day with the way technology's going. Well, to a degree, you keep it running, okay? You would not be able to keep it running without construction people. You can make really good money in IT. I've seen plenty of posts and plenty of job postings and plenty of people talk about how you can easily make over $100,000 a year doing, you know, in an IT job, especially government contracting and things like that. You know, there's people out here making a couple $100,000 a year, $300,000. You start your own business. You know, the possibilities can be endless, right? But on the flip side of it, what skill are you actually working on for yourself? Sure, you know how to work on computers. Maybe you can do coding, or you can create programs, you can create applications. But let's be honest. If that stopped, right? If everybody in IT disappeared, the world would be screwed up for a little bit. But honestly, when you think about it, we could go back to 1920 when we didn't have computers. I mean, I don't know, we can go back to 1940 or 50, whatever, before we had computers and all this technology and stuff, and we would be okay. We could survive. But construction has always existed. Even during the caveman period, there had to be people building caves and hammering out rocks and all this other stuff, right? But to go back to the other side of it, so what skill are you really gaining? What skill are you doing? And I would argue that you are a skillless person outside of just knowing how to navigate yourself on a computer or maybe some technological program or whatever you guys do, right? Whereas in construction, and there's so many different branches and levels in construction that you could be in, but depending on where you go, you know, you're going to learn sales, you're going to learn personal skills dealing with people, you're going to learn manipulation, you're going to learn human psychology, you're going to learn how to fix stuff. And this transgresses into a lot of other areas. So like for me personally, I'm going to speak from my own experience. I've had to learn sales, you know, human psychology. I've had to learn real estate. I've had to learn how to fix stuff, obviously. You know, and just because I do plumbing and my background is a little bit in automotive and working on motorcycles, I know how to fix a lot of stuff. And it only makes it that much easier when you have to fix other things. So I can do stuff outside of plumbing. You know, I can do basic electrical, basic carpentry, roofing, things like that. I'm no expert in those fields, but just from the experience I've had in plumbing and being in construction, I kind of understand a lot of those and I'm able to figure it out. I've got the resources for that. I have a skill that is in high demand. That was the other point I was going to make too with the IT thing. And not to be like a conspiracy theorist or put anything negative out there, but for my generation, we have not seen really a significant war or anything happen to the United States, right? Or really any, I don't know enough to really say any country, but I have yet to hear about computers getting shut down in any country, right? But I think that it is something plausible that could happen in the coming years. You know, this is whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years, 50 years from now, in theory, you could shut down all computers, right? The world would stop for a little bit, but then it would keep moving. We would figure things out, right? But if you're in IT and all of that stops, you're put out of a job. The other thing about it too is technology is forever growing. If you're in IT, there is a very high likelihood that your job will be phased out by AI technology at some point. Now, with that being said, we're still going to need people to create the programs. I would think so, at least maybe AI will start doing that to where you don't need the aid of people. But I would still think that we're going to need the aid of IT professionals in some manner, no matter what, no matter how good AI gets, right? We're going to need that to some degree. There is about as close to a 0% chance possibility that plumbing will disappear or get taken over by technology. Technology just makes our job easier. Between the tools, between the knowledge, doing blueprints, things like that, technology makes our job considerably better. The only way that I see AI really taking over like plumbing, electrical, carpentry is based off of your 3D model home, where if you've ever seen a video that came out of that home that was being made with like that 3D printer where they were doing the cement. In my mind, in theory, you could get to the point where you create a blueprint and you just have robots build it. If you have all the plumbing systems blueprinted, electrical, all that, yes, you could get to a point where that part is where new construction is phased out and taken over by AI. You can't phase out service. You never will. There's always going to be places that need to be fixed, whether it's electrical issues or plumbing issues, carpentry, roofing, HVAC, all that stuff. You're going to always need that service being completed. There's never going to be a day where that stops. So I think we've reached a consensus that technology is not going to phase out construction. It's just not. So now let's get into the number side of it, all right? Because most people, we care about money at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. Nobody wants to take the $18,000 a year job. Everybody wants the job or the business where you're going to make $100,000, $200,000 a year, right? I would argue on the IT side that you're going to make more money maybe in the short term. That to me is a field where you can come right out of college and you can make 80, 100,000, maybe even a couple 100,000 if you get in with the right firm or you start your own business. Whereas plumbing, you're going to start way lower on that pole. Like I started at $10 an hour cleaning sewers. It was like $18,000, $19,000 a year I was making. But then I worked my way up. And nowadays for individuals, this is over a decade ago. I think now you can probably start off in that field, 24, 25,000, maybe 30,000. It doesn't sound great, but over the term of you being in a construction field, you're gonna make more. Like on average, plumbers make $55,000 to $65,000 a year. That's average, right? That's your median plumber take home money. We got guys out here that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's guys out here that are making millions of dollars. And there's guys out here that are making $18,000. The people making the big money are the business owners, for sure. You're not going to make a couple $100,000 a year as a plumber working for somebody. Maybe if you're that good at sales, you can, or depending on your position, you could. If you're like project manager, sure. For the majority, you're not going to hit that. This is where I would argue with IT that you probably make better money in that short term, because right out of college, you can probably hit that $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 job and move on up pretty quick. But that's it. That's all you get from that. You don't get no other skills or anything. And in order for you to even get in IT and make that kind of money, you have to go into a considerable amount of debt. And this is where I think in the long term, IT ends up making less money, because if you think about it, most of you guys are going to have to pay for college. You're going to have to get that $100,000 degree. And God forbid, if you don't get a job as soon as you're out of school and you got to start paying on that student loan, and you get in that trap where you're paying that 4 or 6% interest, and next thing you know, you've paid $100,000 towards your loan and you still owe 80, 90, $100,000. I've seen it happen over and over again. I've got friends, family that are dealing with that. You see it all the time on the internet. When you're constantly battling that, you can't move up in any way. You might as well just be living paycheck to paycheck. And on top of that, you got no skill. When you can't flush your toilet, you got to call somebody like me. Could you imagine a motherfucker like me showing up at your house? You better hide your girl. Better hide your girl. Don't even baby this motherfucker. Yo, I'm being dead serious. But nah, in all seriousness, you're skillless. You can't do shit for me, but I can do a lot for you. You wouldn't be able to function in society. Think about the roads. Bro, who's out there paving the roads and doing all that hard work? Plumbing and construction, you can make good money, you can have a good living, you can provide for your family. One of my favorite parts about it too, and this is where maybe in IT you can do this, but in the construction world, we got this thing that's called side work, right? So let's say when I was working Monday through Friday, you know, my normal 40 hours, get my pay, cool. But then I would go out on a Saturday or Sunday and do, you know, side work, and I'd make a couple extra grand on the weekend. And most people in construction do that, whether you're plumbing or electrical, HVAC, roofing, you're probably doing some sort of side work where that money then becomes pretty good. You imagine yourself making an extra $1,000 a week going out there and doing some little stuff. And then you start getting yourself to the point where it's business ownership, right? And it's much easier, in my opinion, to start like a plumbing or electrical or HVAC business than it is to start an IT firm or whatever it is you would have to do. Part of that might also be my ignorance, just because I don't understand IT fully enough to know what you would even be opening up a business for, essentially. But there again, I'm sure you got plenty of opportunities to open up a business, you know, whether you're servicing computers or data harvesting or whatever it is that you would be doing. My other argument, though, as to why the trade jobs are so much better as well is because in IT, at least in my mind, you're stuck in an office setting all day, or you're stuck at home, or, you know, maybe you can go to the coffee shop or the local mall or whatever. You know, I guess you probably are versatile to a degree at some point with that. But when you're in construction, especially plumbing, or if you're in any of the main services like plumbing service, electrical, HVAC, every day you're somewhere different. And most of the time you're at multiple places every day. So like for us, we normally do like 3 to 5 calls a day. So you think about, I'm always in different neighborhoods, I'm in different parts of the city, I'm dealing with different people. You know, it's kind of nice to be out and bouncing around, and you're not just stuck to one confined place. And I'm not just on a computer, you know, getting finger muscles, you know what I mean? I got actual calluses on my hands. Because that's the other thing I hear too, is like, when people get on the internet and like, don't get into construction, it's a thankless job, you ain't gonna make any real money. Dude, if you're a pussy and you're just afraid to pick up some bricks, get a little dirty, do some hard work, just say that. If you're afraid to get some callus on your hands, little noodle arms and shit, be scared. Leave it up to us to do that. You know what I mean? But society can function without IT. Society cannot function without construction jobs. Don't ever forget that. So I'm curious to know your side of it. Clearly, if you're watching me or you're on my channel, you're probably going to side more with construction. Like I said, there's benefits to both. And of course, I'm biased, but to me, construction is always going to be better. It's always going to be a better choice. And it's one of those things too where everybody isn't meant to do IT work. Everybody isn't meant to do construction work. But if I pay for school to get into IT and realize I hate it, I'm stuck with a bunch of debt. That now I'm working a job that I hate, and I have to work it now because if I don't pay off this $100,000 student loan, I'm gonna be sleeping in my damn car. Whereas on the flip side of it, if you try to get into plumbing or electrical, HVAC, whatever, any of the trades, you don't have to go to school for it initially. Like, you can get into it, and if you realize, like, okay, I really don't like getting dirty. I don't like the trades. My arms are noodles. I can't lift these bricks. Mixing cement is above my pay grade. Then at least you haven't sacrificed anything. You don't have any student loan debt you have to get into. And on top of it, you would have gained a skill. So even if you, let's say you just work for a couple months as a apprentice plumber or a laborer, you're going to see some stuff and you're going to learn some stuff that you can then transverse into the real world. Maybe once you buy your own home instead of renting, you know. And don't take me wrong on this. I know I'm kind of being a little snarky about that. I could care less whether you're the home ownership type or you're the renting type. Just like I said earlier, I guarantee you most of these IT people don't actually own their own place. They're probably renting an apartment or renting a home. Because if you owned your own place, you would understand the importance of trade jobs and skilled labor and all that. But back to what I was discussing though. The hell was I talking about? Man, this is where the ADHD just zoop, comes in, squirrel, and now I'm all mixed up. But it's probably to the point, I think I've spun out enough jargon at this point. And most of us would agree. Construction, oh, that's what I was talking about. Construction is a much better job, but if you try it for a couple months and decide that you don't like it and your noodle arms can't handle it, you have a skill that you can then take in the real world with you. And you can actually do something with it. And maybe you won't be a pussy and you'll try to fix your own sink. Or you'll try to install an outlet over at your house, you know, and you're not afraid to get a little zip-zap from it, you know. Instead of calling somebody like me and paying, you know, you figure, I shouldn't even talk about what I charge on here because we do all right. But, all right, no, you know what, forget it. I'll put it on there. You want to get into IT and you don't want to know how to fix your toilet, you're going to call me. And I'm going to charge you $250 to rebuild your toilet. And you know how long it's going to take me? It's going to take me about 15 minutes. I could do that shit with my eyes closed at this point. Rebuild your toilet. Oh, $250? Now, keep in mind, though. All right. It sounds great. I could glorify that all day. I could talk about how, you know, on my best days, how many thousands of dollars me and my team have made, right? I could get into that. Am I going to? Nah, I'll leave that for another video. But my point with that is, though, even though we make good money, like on the ownership side, there's a ton of expenses that go into it. I'm not even gonna, you know what? I'm gonna stop there. I'm not even gonna get into it. That'll start a whole nother portion of the video, and I'll just be sitting here rambling all damn day. So you guys that know me, you know I will sit here and talk about this all day. But to conclude it and to get to the final point, not everybody's made for construction, not everybody's made for IT, but how dare you shit on construction jobs and act like that we don't move the world and keep it progressing. Imagine if everybody on IT went on strike. We're not going to work. Nah. We want to shut everything down. Everything would get shut down. And then you know what? It would probably kick back up not that much longer. Right? We'd figure out a way to manage without IT. You get 30%, probably even less. You get 10% of plumbers. I'm not coming into work today. I'm not working until we fix shit in this country. Till we do something about it. We would stand still. Shit would shut down. Water would not be getting to people's houses. People wouldn't have gas. Do you imagine how much in an uproar people are going to be when they don't have hot water to wash their little ass? Like, come on, dude. We control it. For sure. IT, you guys think you control it? Nah, you don't. You don't control shit, bro. Blue collar workers, and kudos to you. If you're in the blue collars and in the trades, man, I seriously, I applaud you because it's not easy. And it's a thankless job. It really is. But with the skills that you make, with the type of money that you could get, the fact that you don't have to go into college and get a bunch of debt, fully trumps getting into IT. And you have job security. You never have to worry about work. Whereas IT, You probably lose a little bit of sleep at night because you might get phased out by the robots. I'm done. I've ranted enough. I've completely ranted enough. Deuces, y'all.